Right now, ask the pastor. The question comes up, and it's a fascinating question. Get ready to put it on the screen, gentlemen, in the control room. The question says this: why are modern day miracles less impressive than those in biblical times? Why are modern day miracles less impressive than those in biblical times? Now, that is a great question. Debbie has brought this question to us, and as we focus on this, we need to understand that we are presuming something here that's important. Modern miracles, or modern day miracles, are less impressive than those in biblical times. And that's a presumption. I would have a hard time suggesting or saying to anyone, anywhere, that miracles are not impressive. But when we talk about miracles, what are we talking about? Are we talking about miracles because everyday breathing is a miracle? Everyday life is a miracle, Debbie. I mean, we can get up in the morning and see. We digest food and we can't figure out how we do that. And, you know, we make AI thinking on its own. But we were made by God, and we are miracles every day. I don't think that's less impressive. I think what you're suggesting is that there seems to be more attention brought to biblical miracles as somebody happening, for example, an arm being healed, or eyes being healed, or ears being healed, in several cases, the dead coming to life, and all of that. You know, this is a simple answer from me, but a simple answer is, number one, miracles are miracles. Scientifically, 10 with 200 zeros to 215, or 10 with 215 zeros behind it. One chance in 10 with 215 zeros behind it is a miracle, okay? One chance in that is a miracle. That's a lot of miracle juice. And so miracles happen. I've had miracles happen to me, and it's not less impressive. But the Bible itself lists the miracles, and people can see it and read it and isolate it. And they can interpret the miracle. But our lives are such that when God does a miracle in us, I should be dead right now. But when God does a miracle, you know, God decided to change things in my life 20 years ago. And when I was a miracle, things dramatically changed, and there is nothing more dramatic than living and being alive. I had an arm that was shattered into so many pieces, this right arm. They said I would never sign again, and I signed checks and everything with this every day. And they said, this is the doctor told me you'll never have use of that hand again. And I received a miracle from God, and they never even had to set it. They just put it in a cast because the doctor had to do something. And it was fascinating. I mean, I've had miracles in my gallbladder. My gallbladder should be taken out now. I had all kinds of gallstones, and God, I apologized to the Lord for how I was eating, and God took it out of me. I mean, I should be dead, and God has made a miracle. So, to me, those miracles are not less than the miracles of the Bible. They are just, in fact, there are more of them. And God has expanded because the population of the planet during the time of the Bible, I don't know what it was, maybe 300,000 or 400,000 people, maybe more. But today it's so much bigger than that, 8 billion people. And so we have to remember that there are more people today, and it's easy to get lost in all of that. And so I believe that modern miracles are not less impressive. I think they're more impressive. But I think that the Bible, when we read them out of the Bible and we isolate them because we see them in the pages of Scripture, it seems to be more of a miracle, and people can point to a miracle. But I tell you, with the ears being healed and eyes being touched and bones being fixed and people raising from the dead, the whole thing, I can show you or tell you people. 3 times in my life I've seen that. And people raised from the dead. It's absolutely stunning. It's stunning. Just downright stunning. And I don't think that they're less impressive. I think that they're more. So why are miracles less impressive than those in biblical times? I don't think they are, Debbie. I think they're very impressive. If you're wanting miracles, or if you're not sure, or you're wondering why there's not as many miracles, but miracles come through faith. And faith is really something interesting. I would simply say this. The 6th verse of Matthew chapter 5, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after rightness with God, for they shall be satisfied. Hunger and thirst for rightness with God, not for miracles, but for rightness with God. So many people go after the miracle. Miracles and these things follow the people who love the Lord. They follow us. They don't precede us. They follow us. Television has messed all that up. Anyway, that's my short answer to this. Okay, here you go. Your first question as a senior pastor. Go ahead, Kevin.
That's a lot of pressure right there. So yeah, I agree with you, Pastor Rod. You know, I think of like Moses, right? And one of the most amazing miracles that we see, that you can actually see in the Bible, is the parting of the Red Sea, right? And so think about the Israelites. They were delivered from Egypt, and people complained. God provided manna, and people complained. God provided quail, and people complained. And then time and time again, we had enough quail that they were sick of it, right? It was stuck in their teeth, and they just got sick of the thought of the quail. But it wasn't the huge miracles that were changing lives, right? And sometimes we look at a huge miracle and think that's going to change this person's life, and that's not always the case. Think about the 10 lepers also in Luke 17. You see the 10 lepers are cleansed. They go on their way to show the priests. All 10 are cleansed, and only one came back to give glory and thanks to God. So it's like that one was truly changed out of the 10. All received an amazing miracle, a life-transforming miracle. So like Pastor Rod, I would say miracles today are just as impressive, even more so, because it's a miracle of the Spirit a lot of times. God replaces that heart of stone and gives us a heart of flesh. You know, and many times miracles today are more impressive, but just unseen. You know, and I think of, like, you look at in the New Testament where you have the demon-possessed man. I believe that people are still possessed, but it's a different type of possession. It's almost like materialism becomes what possesses people, or greed, or lust, power, whatever it may be, whatever their driving force is. But when God gets a hold of those people, that is just as significant of a miracle, because a heart and a life is changed. So I kind of know where you're going with this, because if you're saying miracles are less or more impressive, it's because maybe more people can see it. It's affecting and impacting more people. Like when the fire came down from heaven, and Elijah said, we need to take out the prophets of Baal, and then a revival was taking place, right? So those things are very visible. Everybody without a shadow of a doubt can see it and know it. But a lot of times that doesn't change an individual. The feeding of the 5,000, they kept wanting to go back to Jesus because they thought they were going to get fed. They were looking for their next meal. And many of them basically left the Lord. They left his teaching and everything. So it's not about the grandiose nature of the miracle. It's about the long-lasting change of a heart inside a person. And those are the miracles that are most important. Those are the most impressive for me. But they're the ones you can't see. So it's not a grandiose scene necessarily. But the beautiful thing is God is still moving. God is still working. Miracles are still happening. And Pastor Rod cited miracles in his own personal life. And I can do the same of where God moved mightily in my situation. And a miracle took place. There's a financial miracle I've experienced where we were like $17,000 in debt, and the Lord helped us get out of debt in 9 months. It didn't make sense on paper, but God did it, right? So in your life, you could probably point to the same, but just remember that when there's a miracle in the heart of a person, something significant, something special is taking place because God is getting a hold of that person. And honestly, to me, I find those more impressive than those that are big, grandiose scenes that everyone can see. I really believe that God moving on a heart is more powerful, so that they can experience Jesus Christ and be in eternity with him. So that's my answer to that question.
I think that's good. That's a really good one. And I want to say that I've experienced a miracle even today. There was a I won't say who it is, but there was a group who, an official group, a legal group, who responded to my taxes and said that I didn't get credit for my taxes in 2022, and so I owed the government all this money. I don't have the money. So I called the government, and they said, well, we've reassessed you, and no, you don't. And then what happened was I called them back. I said, listen, I don't have the money. And they said, oh, well, sorry, we sent the wrong letter to you. So I said, okay, well, what is that? And it turns out that they got all my stuff. So anyway, that's interesting. And so, I mean, I was trying to figure out how I was going to borrow money to pay for this and all that stuff. But anyway, that's what happened. And it's very interesting. So thank you. Ask the pastor. If you want questions, or if you have questions, you can send them to us at email@BibleDiscoveryTV.com.